In the headlines, over $4.6 million approved for road repair works in La Plaine. Children's Heart Foundation facilitates $100,000 in medical assistance for children. And the Ministry of Health recommends a quarterly cleanup campaign as part of efforts to fight the spread of the Zika virus. Hello everyone, I am Andrea Lee with the Channel 5 News. Details after this. Thank you for staying with us. First up, government has approved $4.6 million for road repair works in the La Plaine constituency. Tropical Storm Erica caused severe damage to the road network in the southeast of the country. The $4.6 million EC dollars will cover the compromised areas between La Ronde and Point Milat.
Of particular interest is works that will be done in the upper La Ronde area addressing road realignment. Works will also be carried in the Wavin Wash area in Boetica, where a massive rock slide compromised the road. Additionally, works will be done at the foot of Mon Magic in Dalis, Victoria Dalis, and importantly, the Victoria Bridge crossing, costing in excess of $1 million, will be put in place.
Work has also started on a bypass close to the La Roche Catholic Church.
At this time, since motor vehicular access is still impossible in the Victoria end of Dalis, that works have commenced on a bypass road through the La Roche Catholic Church. And in fact, some $40,000 has been approved for the completion of this project.
Casgori, Balize, and Plaisas are also benefiting from the road repair works.
One in Casgori, La Plaine, where we are now putting down slipper drains to the entire roadway in Casgori. The Balize, Lower Balize area, where again we are addressing the issue of slipper drains to roughly 500 feet of roads and extension of a culvert crossing, and the completion of the Lower Ghetto Link Road. That project costing $80,000. Works are in full gear, putting down a concrete surface with slipper drains to ensure that access is given to the people in that section of the community.
A team of engineers recently visited the Mono Dalis area with a view to finding an alternative route into the southeast. In health now, over $100,000 in medical assistance facilitated by the Children's Heart Foundation for disadvantaged children in 2016.
Under the watch of Chief Pediatrician at the Princess Margaret Hospital, Dr. Rhonda McIntyre, Children's Heart Foundation has been raising funds since its inception to meet the needs of children with heart problems. However, over the years, the foundation has expanded its reach to children with life-threatening conditions whose parents cannot afford health care. The most recent case is that of a one-week-old baby with an unstable heart rhythm. A pediatric cardiologist based in Martinique with his assistant flew in to evaluate and medicate the baby. The baby's condition could have resulted in his heart failure. While Dr. Lucran did not charge for medical bills, the Children's Heart Foundation bore the expense of a chartered flight and other costs associated with their trip.
He does work in Dominica, St. Lucia, and the other French islands. So there's no financial support for him doing this. He's sort of doing something out of the box ready. So he's allowed to work in the other regions to provide support because there are not many pediatric subspecialists in the Caribbean. It's much cheaper for us to do that, for him to come, than for us to send the patient across, because we require we need to pay for the air ambulance, pay for the medical bills because the patient needs to go straight into the hospital. Whereas if the specialist comes, then we don't have hospital fees and air ambulance fees.
That level of care would have been undertaken at the pediatric or neonatal intensive care unit of a Martinique hospital for €3,000 a day.
I mean, usually when we send babies or young children across, up front we usually require a deposit of 15 to 20,000 euros. So it's really a lot of money for most people to come up with at short notice. So usually we fund serious conditions. However, we do fund at times conditions that are not as life-threatening, but we like to focus mainly on serious life-threatening conditions that require funds that most people can't afford. We spent about 100,000 easily last year. Yeah, on one patient only, we spent $56,000 last year for life-saving surgery to the bowel. Mom was waiting around for a week trying to raise funds, and in the end, we just had to take on the entire project because the baby would have died.
The foundation has created partnerships with French and American doctors.
Some of the medical bills required for some of these serious conditions, heart surgery, brain surgery, and other, types of care, as the cost is so exorbitant sometimes that even we would not have been able to provide all of the money necessary. So in fact, what we do is that we work with other doctors or other organizations who provide either reduced cost for some of the interventions or surgeries, or fees, or waive fees entirely.
An agricultural expert has identified the need for quality standards in agricultural exports across the board. Head of the Dominica Agricultural Producers and Exporters Limited, DAPEX, Grayson Stedman, told Channel 5 News that unless there is a standardization of packaging procedures, hucksters will continue to have the advantage over their operations. Stedman says that too has made it more difficult for them to obtain produce for export since Tropical Storm Erica.
The advantages that the hucksters has in terms of that they pick up the trucks and they go straight to the man's farm, they pay him on the farm. The farmers doesn't have to deliver to a point and so on, because we have to process it and then he's paid a few days later and so on. So this is the disadvantage we have in that particular dealing with this trade in opposed to the huckster trade. Until you have a standardization of packaging and so on and quality standards, then that everybody will be dealing with on an even keel market situation. If the hucksters have the advantage that they are dealing in a low-end market in terms of because they sell in the local markets in those areas, like in Antigua in particular, and they don't deal with this quality standards of packaging and so on that we have to do.
The Canadian Hunger Fund, through the promotion of regional opportunities for produce through enterprises and linkages, Propel project, is aiming to develop markets for high-end quality products to Barbados, a market DAPEX is very interested in. Stedman says there are a lot of opportunities to develop agriculture into a thriving business.
They want fruit in packages that can be delivered straight to the supermarket, not to be repacked and so on. And you'll have to have proper quality standards, packaging, cleaning and so on to be able to supply that particular market, which unfortunately is not happening because we don't have a uniform standard of export and quality control and so on. When that comes, then I think that will be a major advantage.
DAPEX mainly exports to St. Kitts and last year supplied 7 markets in that country with over $500,000 worth of crops. Displaced men from Dubique are benefiting in more ways than one because of the resettlement project at Grand Bay.
Under the Dubique resettlement project currently underway at Center in Grand Bay, 50 houses will be built for displaced people of Dubique by the month of May. Resettlement coordinator Lucien Blackmore says displaced men from Dubique have a hand in ensuring they meet their completion dates.
Currently, the employment on the site is about 67 employees. Most of them are from within the local, the vicinity of Dubique, Grand Bay area. Of course, in there you have a number of multi-skills. You have plumbers, you have electricians, you have masons, you have carpenters, welders. Not often you see on the project you have welders, but in that case, there's a very serious demand for welders.
Over $90,000 is expected to go into paying workers' wages.
On average, just for wages for the contractor is paying about close to $80,000 fortnightly for wages on this project. So in terms of the employment generation, it will also be very significant. Added to that as well is the other very, very desirable situation in that a number of the persons in the houses working on the project are from the Dubique community. So it means, therefore, they're actually involved in their own fabrication and construction of the houses. We give them a sense of belonging, a sense of ownership, and a sense of pride as well to be able to contribute to the resettlement of the entire community in itself.
The resettlement coordinator told Channel 5 News recently that on the Prime Minister's most recent visit to the site, he had set a new target of completing 20 houses by Easter.
Participants in this year's Miss Teen Dominica pageant officially received their respective prizes at a ceremony over the weekend. Tiffany Aylwa of the Portsmouth Secondary School won that competition, while Tatiana Dangleben of the Convent High School came in second place, and Imelda Boston of the Dominica Grammar School was second runner-up.
The teen pageant is an important stepping stone for the future careers of particularly our young girls in Dominica, and it assists them with their programs in the schools. You know, there's a visual and performing arts program now in the schools where they do dance, they do music, they do art, they do drama, all aspects of the arts. So, of course, a show like the pageant helps with that program as well in the schools, and of course it helps them to participate in their culture, not just speak about promoting culture, but actually be a part of the promotion and the preservation of the culture.
The other participants were Lisa Samuel of the St. Martin Secondary School, Nadej Barber of the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, Natora Francis representing the Pierre Charles Secondary School, and Marcella Green of the Goodwill Secondary School. Coming up, what one children's organization is doing to fight the spread of the Zika virus. Welcome back. Permanent Secretary with the Ministry of Health and Environment has recommended quarterly cleanup campaigns for mosquito reduction on island. The most recent invasion of the mosquito, which carries the Zika virus in the Caribbean region, has forced Dominica to raise defenses since the country is surrounded by islands with cases of Zika. Although health officials are convinced the virus will eventually breach our shores, the Ministry of Health and Environment has solicited the support of the public to reduce the mosquito population.
That is one of the lessons that has been learned, that people are not managing their solid waste properly. And while they were excited to put it out, it cannot just end here. We have to continue to educate and engage the public on means and ways of taking care of their white goods. And I think the Ministry or the Solid Waste Corporation also has a responsibility maybe to have a more structured method in ensuring that if it's every three months or every 6 months that we do a collection.
Mrs. Roye, the PS, is soliciting the continued support of interest groups.
We are maybe village councils or groups write to the Ministry of Health and stating to us that they plan a campaign to clean up and whatever, and maybe just asking us for collaboration or support, because it has to be sustained. And remember, as we said, it's not just for Zika. While this Thursday was for Zika, source reduction would be for the prevention of diseases caused by mosquitoes, and this mosquito is endemic in Dominica.
Roye expressed gratitude to all participants involved in the mosquito reduction cleanup earlier this month. Meanwhile, Roye has encouraged community members to assist the elderly who are unable to actively participate in maintaining their surroundings. A children's organization is playing its part in combating the Zika virus. This as the West Dominica Children's Federation donated $5,000 worth of bed nets to the Ministry of Health and Environment. Zika is a mosquito-spread illness, and Dominicans are continuously being cautioned to take preventative measures against being bitten by mosquitoes.
Originally, we had purchased these nets as a post-ERICA activity. They were to be used for the communities that were affected, and We were originally going to give them to toddlers and infants who would have been suffering from the mosquito bites. We were able to spend over $5,000 on the nets.
Some mosquito nets had already been distributed in Kulibistri and Maho. However, the remaining nets will primarily be used on the maternity ward of the Princess Margaret Hospital. Barron says the Federation is committed to helping in the fight against mosquito-borne diseases.
This support that we're giving this year through these nets is something that's a follow-up activity. Last year, our staff of the Federation, as a response to chikungunya, we were able to do a cleanup in the Granby area. We also are happy that we will be paying for some of the posters that the Health Promotion Department is doing. This is just another area that we want to see that the fight against Zika continues.
This donation is expected to help the Ministry of Health's action plan.
Humanitarian efforts are always highly appreciated, as it represents a commitment to support the vulnerable host population, and it also signals an understanding of needs created as a result of threats. This donation can go a long way in improving the quality of life for our people, and this is very encouraging. Actually, bed nets are included as part of our action plan. So for us in the ministry, it is a very timely donation.
A total of 150 nets were donated to the ministry. And a former Dominican leader says he has been doing his share to make appeals abroad for aid to the country since Tropical Storm Erica. Oliver O.J. Serafin served as interim prime minister at a time when the destructive Hurricane David hit in August 1979. He says Prime Minister Skerritt has a serious responsibility on his hands as it relates to rebuilding after the August storm. St. Lucia has been Serafin's home for the past 7 years.
I actually spoke at various churches in Trinidad when I was there, and I spoke at television programs, and there were some international programs that I mounted. I also spoke in St. Lucia at various churches as well, and called for help and did what I could, etc. I was in touch with various international organizations, and the Habitat for Humanity, one of them. I spoke to the president, the vice president, and so on, to assist Dominica in terms of housing. And so I wasn't latent, and I wasn't, out of the loop, but I didn't have any direct connection really with the government of Dominica in respect of what I was doing. But if people go on, maybe online, they will see some of those videos of the efforts that I was mounting out there.
Serafin represented Dominica officially at an OECS Secretariat flag-raising ceremony to mark Dominica's independence on the 3rd of November.
I'm familiar with the fact that there is need for help. The biggest problem that we have now really is the Petit Savan situation in terms of what is happening to the people today, what is their state of mind, being out of their homes, their livelihood, etc. What it is that has to be done to create a new village, as it were. In my time, we did get a lot of help from USAID and from all the various organizations, PL480, Catholic Relief, and a number of such organizations. I'm not so sure those organizations are existing now in terms of Dominica.
That's news. Your sports highlights next with Kenny Williams.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Sports Report. On the local cricket scene, there were 6 wins in the Augustus Gregoire Cricket League on the weekend. Police Sports Club recorded a 109-run win over Marino Evergreen. Evergreen batted first, ending on 292 for 6. Brian Felix top scored with 96, Vivian Augustine 72. Bogart Green took 3 for 47 for Marino. Evergreen replied with 183 all out. Green added 49 and 43 from Andy Matthew. Vivian Augustine took 5 for 40 and Gavin James 3 for 48 for Police. Meantime, Gladiators boasted a 48-run win over Nagico Stars. Gladiators took first knock, racking up 108 all out. Janik Luis 26 and Fabian Etienne 25. Elton Daniel took 8 for 22. Nagico in their turn at the crease posted 60. Fabian Anthony 28, the most for Nagico. Phoenix Thomas took 4 for 13 and Teddyson Gilbert 2 for 6 for Gladiators. Then the match between Galion and Ruben Bakery Christian favored Galion with a 72-run advantage. Galion batted first, scoring 195 for 8. Adrian Matthew 50 and Marshall Gregoire 33. Earl Bruno picked up 2 for 13 and Matthias Bruno 2 for 29 for Christians. Christians answered with 123 all out. Delvin Esprit scored 21. Limron Bernard took 3 for 12. Still in local cricket, Point Michelle defeated P.H. Williams Collier by 132 runs. The victors batted first, posting 260. Kasim Peltier 74, Clever Martin 52, and Delbert Graham 42. Kimaya Strachan took 3 for 36 and Ajay Andrew 4 for 43. Collier replied with 128, where Jimmy Langley and Kiman Strachan added 34 and 31 respectively. Daniel Dupini picked up 4 for 25, Kasim Peltier 3 for 18, and Terry Fritz took 2 for 16. Meantime, the match between Summits and Dublin had Summits in the lead with 4 wickets to spare. Scores Dublin 56 and Summits 57 for 6. Finally, in local cricket, Mariner blasted their way to a 100-run win over Starlights. The scores: Blasters 244 for 6 and Starlights 144. In football, defending champs of the 2015-2016 DFA Flow Premier League, Dublin Football Club went down to Bath Estate FC, and Caribbean Cool Harlem United smashed Northern Concrete and Steel Bombers 6-1 in the final matches of the competition played on the weekend. Gerald George has more.
On Saturday, Bath Estate Football Club handed Dublin Football Club their second defeat for the season with a 2-0 victory at the Benjamin Park in the first match of a doubleheader. Randolph Peltier scored on either side of the half, taking his tally of goals to 22. In the second match, there was no play in that match as Sideman Middleham United failed to show up and Kyrie FM Exodus Football Club failed to dress up for the match. On Sunday, Caribbean Cool Harlem United hammered Northern Concrete and Steel Bombers 6-1. Kerry Allen found the back of the nets twice for Harlem, with one each coming from Odell Francis, Montel James, Errol Blaise, and Donan Jovier.
Meantime, the grace period for the registration of teams participating in the All-Ireland and Domlex Women's League is coming to a close, and teams are reminded to take advantage of the extension. Friday, March 4 is the deadline for submitting registration forms. On to regional 4-day cricket. 2 teams have recorded 6-wicket wins in the 8th round of play in the PCL Regional 4-day tournament. Volcanoes first at the crease posted 216 all out, with Devon Smith and Jelani Robinson adding 87 and 57 respectively. Jaguars replied with 339 all out. Leon Johnson added 107 and Vishal Singh 58. In the second innings, Volcanoes ended on 161 all out. Devon Smith scored the most for Volcanoes, recording 51 runs. Guyana set 39 runs for victory, equal that tally with 6 wickets to spare. Still in Regional 4-day, Barbados also recorded a 6-wicket win in the PCL Round 8. Final scores: Jamaica 117 and 157, Barbados 217 and 118 for 4, targeting 118. On the domino scene, the Numem Forehand Domino League had its semi-final round on Sunday. Marina Mount Zion defeated Remix 4,017 to 3,897, and Metrics and Rebels played to 4,001 and 3,154 respectively. The final will slam down Sunday, March 6 between Metrics and Marina Mount Zion at Mams Bar in Point Michelle. Start time is 11:30 a.m. Finally, in sports, having won their first and second ODI against South Africa, the West Indies women fell short of their target and suffered a 35-run defeat in their third ODI on Monday. South Africa batted first, scoring 235 for 6, with no batswoman topping 55 runs. West Indies in reply fell short of their target and could only get 200 for 8. However, in the second T20, West Indies boasted a 57-run win against South Africa on Saturday. That's all the sports for now. I am Kenny Williams. Join us again next time.
Your weather report is next.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to tonight's weather broadcast. I will be your presenter for this evening, Farah Rock Career. Today, a weak trough was a dominant feature. We take a look now at some earlier infrared satellite imagery, and what it showed is a band of clouds associated with this trough system. Generally, cloudy conditions prevailed over the northern portion of Lesser Antilles, and fair to partly cloudy and hazy conditions prevailed across the central to southern portion of the Lesser Antilles. Earlier visible satellite imagery showed some low-level clouds traverse across the area. Earlier radar imagery indicated some scattered shower activity to the northeast of Dominica. The weather tonight is expected to be partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy with some scattered showers, and similar conditions are expected to persist into tomorrow. The marine conditions will be moderate and waves are expected to be up to 7 feet. What can we expect for the next 3 days? Well, Tuesday and Wednesday, partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy skies. However, Thursday, fair to partly cloudy skies are expected with a maximum temperature of up to 31 degrees Celsius. For the rest of the Caribbean tomorrow, again, the weak trough will be the dominant feature. Some cloudy skies are expected for the leewards and partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy skies for the central to southern portion of the Lesser Antilles. On the international scene, some cloudy conditions with some rain expected in London, beautiful clear skies in New York and Beijing, and partly cloudy skies for Miami and Caracas. The sun will rise tomorrow at 6:22 a.m. and will set at 6:13 p.m. Feel free to visit our website at weather.gov.dm or call the weather hotline at 447-5555. Join us tomorrow evening for our next weather broadcast. Thank you.
To end the news, the headlines again. Over $4.6 million approved for road repair works in La Plaine. Children's Heart Foundation facilitates $100,000 in medical assistance for children. And the Ministry of Health recommends a quarterly cleanup campaign as part of efforts to fight the spread of the Zika virus. Feel free to contact us at news@MarpinNewsFeb29th2k16. You can also catch our past newscasts on our YouTube page. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Lee. Thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.